there is an interesting story where Findaway Voices by Spotify has now split its distribution, and this is really interesting. It is now
So this is audiobook news for those of you who don't know
yes,
what these
this is
companies
audiobook
are.
news. I'm sorry. It's possible to upload directly to Spotify through Spotify for authors. Okay, so if you just want Spotify metrics, you can just upload directly to Spotify. And sometimes that's better because if you go through Findaway, there might be a delay in reporting coming from Spotify. I know I find that with Audible when I did it that way. But if you want to do wide distribution through other distributors, say you're going to libraries or something else like that, audiobooks are now going to go through a company called In Audio. If your books are already in Findaway Voices, they're still going to be available and distributed through In Audio. It might necessitate a login change or something like that, but it's still going to be the same basic system. But they're just now splitting that you can put it up through Spotify directly, and then if you're going through everyone else, it's In Audio.
Yeah, I think this is a big branding blunder to the level of HBO Max taking away HBO from the name and then realizing, oh wait, Max is not a valuable word. We should add it back. So they recently put the HBO back. Findaway Voices is throwing away one of their biggest assets, which is their name, Findaway
Yeah,
Voices,
exactly.
because neither of these two subsidiary companies is using the name Findaway Voices, which I think is going to really hurt them. And for example, I have old episodes where we talk about Findaway Voices and talk about when it's a useful tool. And now, when people hear Findaway Voice, or in the future, let's say a year from now, people hear that episode, they're not going to know what we're talking about because In Audio, all one word, is a terrible company name. It
It's
hurts me,
yeah,
and it makes me sad what Spotify has done. They've kind of taken Findaway Voices, which served a really useful niche, and they've broken it into smaller pieces, each
yeah.
of which is less useful for authors. And in doing so, they've helped kind of encapsulate Audible's dominance in the market in some ways. That said,
Yeah,
being
I
on
do
go
I
ahead.
do like the other thing that's happening that they're doing though. So Spotify changed kind of the format. So when you do Audible, you want an audiobook on Audible, what do you got to do? You got to spend a credit, right? And your subscription only gives you 1 credit. I have the one that gives you 2 credits. And so that credit is important because it's worth 15 bucks or whatever the subscription is that you're paying. So you really careful about how you're spending that credit. And so what Audible is finding is that people are only going for the well-named authors, well-known authors, the named authors, the ones people recognize because that's their credit, man, and that's what they got.
And it's
Spotify,
psychologically difficult to ask for a refund because Audible's defense would be, oh well, if you don't like it after, if you've listened to less than 2 hours of the book, you can get your money back. But that's still, it biases Audible users towards
it's more
big
clicks.
authors
Yeah.
they've read before, sure bets. And so how is Spotify different?
So Spotify, they're including with their premium subscription 15 hours of audiobook listening for their premium audiobooks. And I know readers who go onto Spotify and they just listen to the free audiobooks, because they're budget conscious or whatever. But for people who are paying for the premium subscription to Spotify, who are now able to just listen to 15 hours of any audiobook they want, it has created a psychological uh, tolerance for new authors. And Spotify is seeing that people are now experimenting with new authors more because of the way their system is constructed. And this is really important for us indie authors. You need someone to take a chance on you. You need someone to take that risk or at least lower the barrier for the risk that they're taking. And man, if they make a bad choice on their Audible credit, dude, that's their month. But if they listen to 20 minutes of your book and decide they don't like it, they still got 14 and a half hours left. And that's such a huge deal that people are now listening to indie books as long as they're on Spotify. So this is huge for us. Thomas, what do you think?
Yeah, the medium is the message, and it is interesting how Spotify is really shifting consumer behavior, and it's really growing the overall pie of listeners. Because I don't really know anybody who was on Audible, a hardcore Audible user, and then they're like, "Wow, I don't use Audible anymore. I switched over to Spotify." But I have talked to people who weren't audiobook consumers before. They're like, "Well, I already have a Spotify subscription. So, oh, I'll try this book. Hey, this is kind of good." oh, listening to audiobooks is kind of fun. Oh, fiction can be good. It's like suddenly you just created a reader out of a music listener. It's like that's really good for our industry.
Yes.
And so in this regard, I am thankful that Spotify is doing good things. As podcasters, we have a very fraught relationship with Spotify. They tried to take over podcasting the way YouTube took over online video. And so the podcast industry kind of we all gathered together like Roman legionnaires and locked our shields and held our ground. And Spotify finally wandered off to go bother somebody else. It was very scary there for a few years.
Take from them everything.
So, and they spent a lot of money trying to buy their way into podcasting, and it didn't work. And now they're trying to compete. They're not going to be able to buy their way into audiobooks because Audible is Amazon, and Amazon has all of the money. But they're one of the few companies that actually can give Amazon some legitimate competition, which we desperately need, because Amazon doesn't treat indies well. It doesn't treat publishers well because it knows it has such dominant market position. It's the same way that Apple treated the music industry back in the 90s when they first created iTunes. They're like, we know you're desperate, so this is the best you can get. Take it or leave it. And
it's even worse with Amazon because Amazon completely dominates the market, but they don't care about it. It's such a minuscule part of their profits that they don't need to care about it. And the conjunction of those two things is just terrible for us.
Yeah, Ted is asking, is 15 hours enough for a single book? And it is for some books, but remember, that resets every month. And not everybody is willing to commit to 15 hours of audiobook listening a month. So if somebody listens to an hour of audiobooks a week, 15 hours is plenty of time to have basically unlimited audiobook listening.
Right.
Because at the end of the month, you've listened to 4 hours. And so the next month, you listen to 4 hours. You kind of slowly work your way through audiobooks. It wouldn't work for me. I'm a Audible Platinum Plus member. I calculate I bought over 1,000 audiobooks on Audible. I used to get their like annual Platinum package like 2 or 3 times a year. I'm not quite as voracious now that I'm married, but yeah, I listened to a lot of Audible audiobooks back in the day.
But also, if you are that level of audio consumer, it is a big deal to you to not blow credits. If you're going to waste time, I'd rather only waste half an hour and still have my time left. And then I could just buy more time, which is what you were doing on Audible. You're just buying more credits. It's a much better budget and also less waste involved.
Where it breaks down is if you want to listen to a 60-hour Brandon Sanderson book, I think on Spotify you're still paying full price for it, which is like $40 or $50. And so at that point, they've priced themselves entirely out of the market because you can get that same Sanderson book for a single credit on Audible. So
but again
it's favoring authors with shorter books.
Exactly.
Whereas Audible favors authors with longer books. So it's very much a zig where the other guy zags strategy.
Which is good. That's good. Let's create 2 different stores where you go and get different things. It's either Trader Joe's or you're going to, what do you have in Texas? H-E-B? Sorry, I just brought up the cult, didn't I?
H-E-B is the best grocery store.
Oh my gosh, I did it. Let's try it again. Whataburger.
We're very nationalistic with our restaurants and stores. H-E-B is the official grocery store for the nation of Texas. They don't exist outside of Texas.
Yes,
so.
yes.